Here we go. We are live. If you're on the replay, we're doing some mock trades, reacting to fan trades or just subscriber trades in the chat. Also going to be replying to comments after, so subscribe, like, comment, notification bell. Also checking in on the conference finals. So lots of hockey chat for a little bit of a live stream here. So let's talk about it. All right. What's up, AAA? What's up, Damien? What's up, Quick? How's it going, guys? Wanted to go live here for a little bit of a conference final check-in, but also talk some trades, talk some off-season. What's up, Kyle? So get into the comments. What's up, Gatian? How's it going? Happy Sunday. Here we go. Jennifer says hello from MSG. Nick's watch party. Hope you're well. John, it's always good to see ya. Let's go, Jennifer. Let's go. What's up, Logan? What's up? Two Logans in the chat. Zachary, Quick, Steve-O, Jared, Endrit. You saw me on TV. There you go, Endrit. Hey, we already got 30 in the chat. So yeah, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to do some mock trades. We're also going to get some trades going to the chat. So if you guys have some mock trades that I want to review or some predictions that you want me to react to, get them into the chat. I'll pull them up on the screen. But we're just going to talk some... honestly, I thought I would just hop on, talk some trade rumors, things like that. So definitely get into the comments. Yeah, Bacon, look. It's all gone. Guys, it's all gone. Haircut. The shave. F's in the chat. Rips in the chat, guys. It's all gone. But yeah, I know I didn't make much of an announcement on YouTube here. But I was like, you know what? Sunday, I was just on CTV. So I was like, you know what? I'm already kind of in the studio doing some stuff. So I figured, hey, why not go live, chat with the viewers, chat with the great viewers in here, you know? But yeah, if you guys have any questions, you guys have any hot takes, what's up, Zachary? Yeah, it's all gone. But yeah, let me just post on here that we're live. Live streaming now. Join up. I know NBA conference files are also on. Like Knicks Pacers are on. I'll probably watch some of that game after I'm done streaming here. But yeah, I figured why not go live? The game was on earlier. I watched most of the game. I'm not gonna lie. I fell asleep when it was like, I think 4-1. But yeah, I figured like Oilers were rolling. I figured that game was GG's. All right. Let's get the chat back up here. Yeah, let's get the hot takes going. Yes, sir. Yes. Let's see. Logan says Flames trade for Rossi from the Minnesota Wild and sign him long term. Bring on the hot takes. Yes. Firewagon says I'm trying to decipher why the NHL keeps selling out for Florida. Not only is the league sacrificing its integrity, but hyping up the place to conduct hockey is also a bad business move. Got some hot takes. I mean, I don't know. I think Florida's a great team. Like I understand what you're saying. I think the league has been pushing a little bit more, I don't want to say advantage, but you could be onto something there. Like, it's not a coincidence that the teams winning right now are Vegas, Florida, Tampa. Like, I think there's something to be said on that. I'm with you, but yeah, no, I watched a bit of the Knights game. There you go, Srinath. What's up? Yeah, these conference files, I'm not going to lie, guys. I feel like it's cool to see the Oilers on a run, and like obviously I want to see the Cup come back to Canada, and even for the American viewers, like guys, the Cup hasn't been in Canada since '93, so I think it's time for the Cup to go back to Canada, get it in for a year. But yeah, I don't know, I'm on that vibe that it's like it's just hasn't been that even fight, like especially the Eastern Conference Final. Like I'm beating around the bush as I'm saying this. The Eastern Conference Final has been ridiculous. Like it's been a tough watch. Even that third game, I was like, ooh, do I go live? And I'm like, I don't want to go live. And then the Panthers, I literally thought about that. I was like, I don't want to go live and the Panthers have like a 3-goal period. and then I'm actually just pissed off. What did they do, Chad? I think they scored 5 goals in that third period in game 3. Like, it's insane. So, not going to lie, I was a little bit cheesed by that because I was like, man, the Hurricanes better get back into this and make this a series, because watching this after Toronto went out in 7 against Florida was just such a tough watch. I was pissed off for sure, to say the least. So that was very frustrating. And then I also just think that how that bracket shook up, like on that side, again, Washington kind of proved to be frauds a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I'm not trying to be that negative Nelly, but you look how they played in that second round, and I was actually in the States while that was happening. I was in Hawaii, and then I was in Dallas, but oh my goodness. Washington actually looked like frauds in that second round. I will say, though, one thing, and this is not even just a Toronto thing, this is like a universal thing. If there was ever a chance for like some of these like playoff teams or teams that are on the realm of getting into that cup contention, if there was ever an opportunity to go get Tom Wilson, they should have. I don't think Washington wants to lose Tom Wilson. I don't think they ever have, but definitely been frustrating to see him on that team when he could be on a different team, basically being that presence that team's missing. Beating around the bush, but I think you guys get what I'm getting at. Jumbo says you definitely see the difference between the boys and the men in the conference finals. 100%. Will Marner go? I think so, but yeah, I don't know. I just think it's one of those things where the Leafs don't want to give Marner that money. Marner doesn't want the pressure. It's a bit of a balanced approach. I will say my hot take, guys, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit here. Let's go into reviewing some trades. What's up, Adam? If I missed your comment, guys, just get back into it. What are the Kraken doing this offseason? Hawk, let's talk about it. Let's do it. Let's definitely do it here. All right. We'll go through some Kraken ones, but there was a couple that I wanted to review here. So where should we start? Yeah, if people ask in the comments, or like if I see some comments or donos flying, I'll focus on those teams while we talk about it here. But let's look at this one. So this one is a sign and trade that I kind of talked about. Again, it's not a lot of value where the Leafs get the Marner situation back. But if you're Toronto and you look at a potential sign and trade, like I think this is a scenario where maybe it makes sense. I don't think Riley's waving to Utah. That's the only problem. Like, I don't know about you guys. I look at the situation with Morgan. He's got a full no movement clause. He has a couple places now, a couple properties in Ontario, Canada now. I just think, why would he waive, right? Like, he's got his family in Canada. I could see him going out west maybe in terms of like Canada, or even maybe Seattle. But I think Morgan's got the no movement clause for a reason. I just don't see it. But hey, I could see something along the lines of, in a Marner sign and trade situation, maybe. So to kind of look at the potential lineup this person has. So they got Mason Marchman coming in from Dallas, and they got signed Sam Bennett and Mikael Granlund. I just think the Sam Bennett one for me, I think he's going to get more money, guys, if he leaves a no-tax state or like leaves Florida in general. So I think Florida would need to sign him to around 7 to 8 mil per. If he's leaving Florida, especially for Toronto, I think Toronto would have to overpay. Like, I'm talking 9 to 10 million. And if you think that's crazy, I'm just the messenger on that one. I don't think the Leafs can get Bennett at 8 million. I don't. I really don't. So I think if that's a fantasy or if that's like a hope for some fans, I just think you need to understand that. He's not going to do that. I just don't see it. I think if the Panthers are willing to give him 7, he's going to take the 7 in Florida over the 8 in Toronto. I'm pretty confident in that. So that's where my head's at with that one. To look at another one here, maybe a Toronto one. Let's look at this one. I just love looking at some of these fan ones, and I'm like, where are people's heads at? Where are people's heads at? So this one's another sign and trade. Toronto gets a 2nd round pick, so Vegas can get the 8th year. So I would imagine, again, I've heard some rumors that Mitch Marner could be a heavy target for the Panthers and Golden Knights. Do you guys remember that clip? And I can pull it up. Matthew Tkachuk trying to advocate for playing in Florida. Let's pull it up here. Let's pull it up. I think Spittin' Chicklets had it, right? Kachuk. Let's see. Well, I think it was in this clip, but wasn't it like about like pressure or something? What was it about? Oh, here. Yeah, here we go. It's this clip. It's literally this clip. This is from Spittin' Chicklets. So basically he talks about like the pressure of playing in Toronto.
Were you like surprised they laid that big of an egg?
No, I mean, I think that we played well. Like, it's not all, you know, sometimes you feel bad for them because like they have some unbelievable players and a great team. And I was actually saying this last night to some of the guys, like if their team was not in like Toronto dealing with all like the crazy circus stuff outside of it, like they'd be like an unbelievable team and like such a hard team to play. Like they just have so much to deal with, and I feel bad. I mean, we don't have to deal with that in Florida, and I feel like that's what makes me and my team so lucky. But like you almost use that against them, you know, like the pressure that these guys have to deal with day in and day out. And I wasn't surprised with how they played. Like they had stretches in those games where they played really well. I mean, look at last night. Like,
I think you guys get the gist. But basically, he says some other things in that podcast that he's just like, it's like he's trying to sell to players. He's like trying to market. And I just think Matthew Tkachuk was a former London Knights player. Who did he play on a line with? I'm trying to remember. Oh, he played on a line with Mitch Marner and Christian Dvorak. Two guys that are free agents this offseason. You guys are going to tell me that after the Panthers maybe go on a cup run again this year, or regardless of what happens here, it looks like they're going to go to the finals. You don't think Matthew Tkachuk's going to be calling Mitch Marner and Christian Dvorak, be like, hey, this is the spot, man. And if they lose Sam Bennett and Aaron Ekblad, they're going to have some money. So I want to do that live on here just quickly. Because if you guys see what could be done by Florida here, I think I already did it on my phone here, but I'll just do it quickly so you guys have an idea. But there's a scenario where the Panthers could get Mitch Marner. That's the crazy part. And I've heard some rumors that the Panthers and Golden Knights are going to try to go after Marner. And I've heard it to the extent where Mark Stone could be a guy that's moved by the Golden Knights. Florida would be a couple smaller pieces. Like I could see them moving like an Evan Rodriguez, for example. I could see something like that. But in this scenario, so this is what Florida's got locked in for next year. So, again, is it great? No, but they have probably what? They have $19 million of cap space with Ekblad, Bennett, and a couple other guys coming off the books. So Reinhart would be up here, obviously. Rodriguez down here. They could flip Rodriguez. So they've got most of their defense group. I don't know why Matthew Tkachuk's down here either. So they're literally only missing like 2 forward spots. To me, Florida could be a team for Marner, guys. Like I'm fully on that board. Like say they just dump Rodriguez. I don't know where he would go necessarily, but say they send him to, say Florida makes a trade with Boston again, because for some reason they just wanted to trade with Boston. Maybe Sam Moskevich, he's from Connecticut. Maybe Sam Moskevich and Rodriguez. Maybe you get one of the cheaper options in Boston. Could be something like this. I'm giving an example. Maybe Lysell, some depth options, something like this. Kastelic in Boston. Just an example. Sam Moskevich. This is just an example, guys. I'm just saying to create some space, I should say. So there's your 4th line there. You got some more space. Then you sign Marner. And Marner, with the no-tax Panthers, would take less, obviously. So there you go. You go Marner. I think 12.5 easily. Panthers could easily get him at 12.5. I think even maybe less. But we'll say 12.5 for argument's sake. Say they get Dvorak, maybe 3.5 long term. Something like that. And they still got space. They still got 4.4 to sign a D-man. Get Dvorak in there. Maybe Boquist on that third line. I even see a scenario where they re-sign Marchand, to be honest. Like, they literally could re-sign Marchand, and I would not be surprised. And they reunite the London Knights line, guys. Imagine. Verhaeghe, Barkov, Reinhart, Marner, Dvorak, Tkachuk. They literally reunite. And this, they have a full forward group here. And it's cap compliant. As you can see. And they would still have space. They could literally sign a... Let's go to the defenseman marquee here. I always wanted to do this, and I think it's possible. Who could they sign in the defense market? So if they don't bring back Ekblad, they could go in a few different directions here. Maybe sign a right shot guy, maybe. What if they steal Perbix from the Lightning? Maybe. They could. Because I don't think they'll be able to afford Ekblad based on the money value here. Or what if they sign Fabro? Oh my goodness, imagine they signed Fabro instead. I think Fabro wants to go back to the Blue Jackets, but Fabro, I feel like maybe they go after Fabro. Maybe like $3 million. And like I said, I still think they could try to sign Marchand for really cheap if they wanted, if Marchand was down, but this is basically a full roster. Either sign a backup veteran goalie or just bring up Cooper Black, whatever you want to do. So they got a defense core. A little weaker with no Ekblad, but they get Marner. Imagine. I do think Fabro stays in Columbus. I'm just kind of using a placeholder here. But they could sign like a $3 million defenseman. Have that kind of defense core. Have the Forsling-Jones top pair. That's got to be the best top six in the league. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And you still have that really good third line pair in Lundell and Luosterainen. That is ridiculous. So a couple other Leaf things I wanted to show again. So looking at Perbix as an option, I said maybe the Panthers pick up Perbix. Marchessault would be an option for like both, like the Leafs, Lightning, Panthers. I could see Marchessault being an option. I was just kind of sending my things to myself here on Messenger. Krause, McBain would be, again, Jack McBain's been talked about as the Leafs target as well, so that could be an option. William Karlsson. So William Karlsson would be a third-line center or second-line center option for Toronto. He didn't have a great year in Vegas. If the Golden Knights are trying to open up space for Marner, this could be the ironic thing. A trade like this for Toronto could, like, secure the Golden Knights getting Marner. I've heard a lot of conversations, and I'm talking about the Marner situation here, where the Golden Knights and Panthers go heavy after Marner. And the Golden Knights' two guys that I'd be looking at are William Karlsson and Mark Stone to move. I don't know if they want to move their captain, their leader, but I'm just saying that, like, the injuries, all those conversations, maybe they want to go younger into a conversation like that, but then maybe the Golden Knights make another trade like this with San Jose. I could see something like that. Create some space. Wenberg, 50% retained. It's just kind of spitballing, but the big thing there is William Karlsson or Mark Stone getting cleared, and then the Golden Knights going after Marner. As I said, I really could see the Panthers as well going after Marner. So keep an eye on that. It's crazy to say, but I think, like I said, that Matthew Tkachuk clip, I think a little bit of that was recruiting. And I think Marner could be a part of that as well as Christian Dvorak. So keep an eye on that, guys. Dylan Sandberg offer sheet? Maybe. So I don't know. I think Sandberg was like one of those things where he made some good plays in the playoffs, but then also looked horrendous. So just get the comments going here, guys. Which team do you guys want me to focus on next, or which player scenario? Jason, yeah, in my video, I said Marner could go to Pittsburgh. I think that makes a lot of sense. Free agency will be July 1st, Damien. That's when it opens up, but obviously a lot of like negotiations happen prior to that. Let me know which team. I can look at the Kraken as a scenario. Let me review a couple Kraken fan scenarios. But if you guys want, drop some comments. All right. Let's look at all rosters. Seattle here. Why would he go to Pittsburgh? Well, Mr. Magic. Why would Marner go to Pittsburgh? A few reasons. Not far from home. Talk about a 4 or 5 hour drive. So, quick 40-minute plane ride. Dubas relationship there. Marner, the prospect of playing on a line with Sidney Crosby. Those are the 3 reasons. I think those are 3 pretty easy reasons. So, I searched it up in terms of, let's see. Let's do a little bit farther out last week. Here we go. Okay. So let's look at some Kraken trade scenarios here. Hey, what's up, Line A Row? If I missed some comments again, guys, what's up, Andrew? What's up, Bruce? Nicholas, what's up? Mitch to Boston? You're wild. Sid ain't gone, man. Sid ain't gone. Datriax, what's up? All right, let's do, like I said, guys, if you guys, if I see a comment or a dono flying, I'll focus on that team. Hawk wants me to focus on the Kraken here for a second, so let's talk about potential moves for the Kraken, just review some fan trades, and then give some feedback. If you guys got some mock Kraken trades, get into the comments with them, or what the Kraken could do. Let's see. Now, so I'm already going to skip this one. That one looks unrealistic. Seattle retool. Let's look at this one. Ooh, so Marco Rossi sent Jared McCann to the Wild. Oh, I actually like that. Why do I actually like that? So I haven't talked about that a lot, but I think Jared McCann could very likely get traded. I think Toronto actually could be one of the teams that rights that wrong. Remember once upon a time when Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan picked protecting Justin Hall over Jared McCann. Fun times. But there's a few teams. Like I could see Detroit getting in on a Jared McCann. Minnesota makes actually a lot of sense. I could see a Tampa Bay. I suggested Tampa Bay before the trade deadline, before they actually went after Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gord. So I could see Tampa Bay making another trade with Seattle. We'll see. But that Minnesota one makes a lot of sense. And no, Seattle's not going to trade Adam Larson for just a second to take on Justin Hall. So that ain't happening. But that seems interesting in terms of a start of a deal. Like, I think Seattle would want one of the prospects from Detroit. So, like, give me Nate Danielson or Marco Casper or maybe one of their young defensemen. So I think that could be, like, the early parts of a deal. But that's a joke. Like, if a Kraken fan is thinking Hall's not as bad as we're talking about, like, it ain't it. But, yeah, I think they got to do more than this, though. Like, I just think they got to do more than this. Pat Maroon's retiring, so I don't know why that person's bugging. Let's see. Yeah, I just don't. Like, what are we on about? We need some good Kraken trades in here. Let's go. Berkeley Catton, give him a chance. Yeah, I like that title. Ooh, Chris Kreider. What are we on about? Some of these, bro, some fans are off the rocker. New year, new Seattle. Okay. Maybe we're onto something here. But again, I think that's just Buffalo going in the wrong direction. That's the problem with that one. There's a Toronto one there, so let's pull it up here in a second. Ooh, Burakovsky to Boston. See, honestly, I wonder if Dallas, especially if they lose in the conference finals again, I wonder if they're going to trade one of their core players, because do they want to bring back the Duchesne and Jamie Benz of the world, or do they want to build around Jason Robertson? I don't really see them moving Jason Robertson, but it's interesting. Like, does Dallas want to create more cap flexibility for themselves to go after a Mitch Marner or one of the other big fish in the market? That's interesting in a way. Let's look at the Toronto one, though. And again, guys, if you have any Seattle Kraken mock trades in the chat, get it going. Oh, Leaf fans, what do we think about this one? Oh, that's interesting. With Burakovsky retained too, I would almost consider this if Nylander was waiving. This sounds crazy, but Matthew Beniers as your second line center behind Matthews, I would only do this if it meant the Leafs bring back Marner. I know that sounds crazy, but if the Leafs were able to bring back Marner, I would do this. Jared McCann up in the top 6. Matty Beniers is the second line center long term behind Matthews, and then Burakovsky retained. I mean, this would be huge for the Kraken too, getting Nylander into that offense, because they need an offensive jolt big time. Wow. I would do this. And I actually think it might make sense for the Kraken too. Because the Kraken have a lot of forwards, and they have a lot of prospects in the pool as well. Like, you give Berkeley Catton a chance. There's a lot of guys that the Kraken have coming. And maybe this jolts Shane Wright's offense to get going here. Honestly, I would do this if I'm both teams. I'm not even joking. I think the Kraken, they realize that McCann's going to be expensive to re-sign it at some point here. And then, I mean, Burakovsky we know he's up and down. And then Matty Beniers, they weren't even sold that he could be the number 1 center. So I think the big thing for the Kraken is for their upcoming draft selection, if they can draft their future 1-2 punch with Shane Wright there, maybe try to sign one of the guys in free agency. Maybe they try to go aggressive at Sam Bennett as well. But I think that makes a lot of sense for the Kraken. Get Nylander. If he was willing to waive, that would make a lot of sense. Keep that defense core. The only sus decision there is the Cody Ceci signing. But wow. I think that actually makes a lot of sense for both teams. That's interesting. Maybe we'll review one more here. Big moves. Vancouver and Buffalo. Oh, Matty Beniers and Tolvanen to Vancouver for Pettersson. I actually like this one too. I think value-wise, this is not too bad. I think Seattle gets a little bit more of an offensive ceiling there. I don't know about the 2025 first-round pick swapping. Like, I think this person tried to sneak that in. I don't like that. And then, I know Bowen Byram's in those trade rumors right now. Could Byram get moved? And could he get moved to Seattle? That's actually not that bad of a trade scenario. Jared McCann's more of an experienced forward. I might send this to a few of my Sabres buddies. This is an interesting one. If you're Buffalo, do you give up on Peterka and Byram? If it means getting more experienced and, I would say, I don't know, just veteran presence, right? Like Dunn has the cup. Jared McCann, a bit more of an experienced scorer. And you still even get a future first-round pick from Seattle in this. I actually like that for Buffalo. I think that gives a little bit more of that winning mentality, where Seattle gets a bit of more of a growing younger core. And then if Seattle, goes into that free agent market, man, I think this person, whoever did this, is got a good mind. I like the creativity on this scenario here. Bowen Byram as the number 1 guy, give him that chance. We keep hearing that Bowen Byram wants to be the number 1 guy. He doesn't want to be stuck behind a Power and Dahlin. He wants that chance. And with Seattle, if Vince Dunn was going the other way, he would get that clear chance. I like this for the Kraken, man. Big time. Yeah, like I actually think that's what Buffalo Sabres fans have been wanting. Like my guy Riley, he's been talking about a Sabres trade that looks exactly like this. You get a more experienced defenseman. I know it's not perfect. Like the only, I would say, devil's advocate I would say on this trade is it makes sense Dunn's going the other way for the fit of Bowen Byram getting that number 1 spot on Seattle. But I would say Buffalo wants that right shot defenseman. So I would say they're definitely staring at Adam Larson in the face. Like Adam Larson would be a perfect defense partner for a Dahlin or a Power. Like perfect. So that's another scenario there. Like Seattle and Buffalo could be really good trade partners the more I think about it. But I think Seattle wants to. But yeah, you're right, Bacon. Like this is a rare W. Like you don't see puck GMs. I don't like the swapping of the first round picks here. I don't think Seattle would be willing to do that. But I don't even know how high their first round pick is. I don't think it's that much of a difference. But at the same time, if they're high on Pettersson as more of that offensive ceiling, could make some sense. Could make some sense for sure. So, hey, there's a few ideas for Seattle definitely floating in the air here. What's up, Aaron Adams? We got 120 in the chat. Thanks, guys. I know this is more of a casual stream. I didn't really announce it. If you haven't yet and you're here, I hope you guys can hit that subscribe button for me. It's free to do so. Definitely motivates as well to do more live streams like this. So if you guys like these live streams, just kind of these pick-me-up Sunday evening live streams, check in with the playoffs, but also talk some free agency trades, things like that. Quick clips, what's going on? You said Hurricanes? Hawk, what do you mean? You mean like who to draft or if they should flip those picks? What do you think? Philly. Ooh, Philly could be a good candidate to... Well, Hawk, flip. I mean, we just talked about it there. I think if it was a scenario where you could get younger... Maybe flip some of those first-round picks for, like, younger talent. Guys in their early 20s. So, I mean, Bowen Byram would be a good candidate to go after if you're Seattle. If I had to throw another name in there, like, I've heard that St. Louis might not want to hold on to Jordan Kyrou forever. So, maybe I'm just throwing some fake smoke in the air here. But I'm just saying that there are some former St. Louis Blues players currently on Seattle, right? Vince Dunn, Schwartz, probably missing one or two more, but yeah, just an example. Sends Outlook. Says the Sens should move out Charmin, Ultrasoft, Batherson, and Zub to Calgary along with the first and third for Weegar and Lomberg. Ooh, that's a big package for Weegar. But I think Sens fans would love that. Well, Sam Bennett's a UFA, so... Isaac Howard, that makes some sense. Yeah, there's probably some conversations here. Isaac Howard, Philadelphia Flyers, Detroit Red Wings. Like, there's some stuff I haven't talked about enough. So I'll let chat decide. John Burns, what's up? Kristen. How's it going, Kristen? Yeah, I mean, Richard. I think I'm with you. I think Kyrou probably ends up staying, but I've heard some smoke around that. Thanks, Richard, for being here. Marco Rossi for Dylan Larkin. Ooh, I like that. That's a smoking hot take, but I like it. I do like that. Striker, what's up? All right, let's see. I'm seeing a lot of Detroit and Philly, so let's do one of those two. All right, guys, which team, get into the comments, which team would you rather me review right now in terms of some mock trades? Detroit or Philadelphia? And it doesn't have to just be mock trades. It could be off-season moves as well, who they'll draft, things like that. I don't think, did I say Hurricanes? I don't think I gave Hurricanes as an option. I said Philadelphia or Detroit. Kristen, you said Bruins too? Okay, well, let's check this one out. This one's got Boston and Philadelphia in here. So let's review some maybe Bruins stuff, Philly, maybe Detroit. Some Eastern Conference mock trades here, but this is interesting. I don't think the Flyers want to move Jet Luchenko. I think the only way that maybe this is a trade, I mean, Jeremy Swayman to Philly, that would get their goalie of the future locked in here. I don't know. I think Philly doesn't want to get rid of Luchenko, but I will say this. If Philly was to draft a similar type of center, that could make some sense. So let's see. Let's see if there's Boston and Philly trades, because we got some Philly requests as well. Trade Pasternak. Oh my goodness, imagine. Yo, Carolina getting Pasta. Seth Jarvis and Yo, this is where the Puckpedia artists go off the rails. Oh my, that's like freaking Carolina's whole forward group. Oh my goodness. And then Pasternak going to Carolina. That is like, bro. Oh my God, we're out of it, man. We're literally out of it. All right, let's go back to Philadelphia here for a second. We're out of it. All right, Flyers take next step. Let's see this one with the Sabres. Oh, Byram to Philly and Buffalo gets Tippett. That would be an interesting scenario. And then Philly gets, oh, I actually like this for Philly. They get their goalie. I've heard that Demko might be leaving the Canucks in free agency the following year in 2026. So if that's the case, maybe Philly can get a jump on it, give Demko an opportunity in Philly, especially with Rick Tocchet there now in Philly. Maybe the Canucks and Flyers can make a trade. Basically, Tocchet could look at, hey, who I've liked at Vancouver, bring him over to Philly. Interesting. Very interesting. But I think the Flyers are going to give some young guys their opportunity. Look at that, our guy Nikita Grobenkin. But Bowen Byram and Cameron York, Drysdale, Sanheim. That's a good, mobile, fairly young top four defense group. I actually like that a lot. And it basically gives some healthy kind of competition from York, Byram, and Drysdale. I like that. And then I've heard Ristolainen. The Leafs try to go after Ristolainen. Ottawa going after Ristolainen would make a lot of sense, but it's going to be more than that, than just a second and third. Like, you got to throw a first-round pick in there. And then Buffalo, I don't think that's enough for Bowen Byram. So I guess Flyers fans want Bowen Byram. I guess that's what we're coming to understand here. Oh, okay, we got to chill. We got to chill. We got to chill. Flyers trade for 9th overall. Let's see what this trade entails. So Buffalo gets... So, ooh, wow. So the Flyers get Buffalo's top 10 first-round pick here. Owen Tippett could actually be a good fit for Buffalo. And then we're just kind of sneaking in this goalie swap here. Why do I actually like this for Buffalo? You get a late first-round pick. You don't need any more top prospects. I think the only way that Buffalo should keep this first-round pick is if they can get like a Jake O'Brien or something like that. I think it might be worth it. But, man, this could make some sense for Buffalo, for sure. Interesting. Maybe one more here. Wanted to look at the Flyers' big swing with Ottawa here. Is this involving Ristolainen? Oh, my God. Chill with this. Brady Tkachuk ain't going anywhere. Who says no? Let's see. Tampa and St. Louis. Isaac Howard to Philly. That could make some sense. And for the late first-round pick, honestly, I could see something like this going down, to be honest. I think other places Isaac Howard could go to is like Detroit. I've talked about maybe like a Boston. This actually makes some sense. Actually, St. Louis getting out of that cap. Justin Falk. Oh my God, Tavares going to Philly? That would be a nightmare. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But Isaac Howard on Philly could make some sense here. Let's see, off-season look here. Yeah, so that makes some sense. Okay. We're getting somewhere. All right, Flyers. Have I looked at this one yet? Yeah, I did. All right, well, Flyers fans, some are off the rails. Some are a little bit more realistic. Giroux comes home. Does Giroux go back to Philly? Chat. Does Giroux go back to Philly? I've heard some rumors about that. I don't know. I think he tries to stay in Ottawa, but I've also talked to some Sens fans that don't even want them to pay Giroux another year unless it's super cheap. But Giroux back home to Philly. I just don't see it. But we'll see. Sorry, I missed a dono. I was dialed. Line A Row. Thank you so much for the $2 dono. Says, can you do the Blue Jackets next? Love the content, by the way. Thank you so much. Let's get some Line A hype in the chat. John Burns says, you should travel out west, do a hockey day with a hockey guy, but keep your head up, kid. Hey, John Burns, you'll be there? I need to go out west. I haven't been. Kraken Nation says, John, are you a regular in-game host of the Bulldogs games? Went for the OHL Prospects game and saw you there. Yes, I am. I hosted the Bulldogs And there you go. Bulldogs represent. And yeah. Few different gigs, but yes, I hosted the Bulldogs. Also, guys, look at this. So I went to the Stars, little story time before we go into the Blue Jackets. We'll talk Blue Jackets here, and then I'm not going to stream for much longer, guys, but we'll start doing this more maybe as just check-ins like on Sundays or something. But pretty cool, eh? I got this like collector's cup, I guess you can call it. Pretty cool. You got Rantanen on there as well. There you go. But yeah, it was this would have been game 4, I think. It would have been game 4 Stars Jets. So I was in Dallas for that game. It was crazy. I flew from Hawaii to Dallas, like basically just in time to get to the game. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was a really good experience. All right. Let's focus on Blue Jackets. Thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. Adam, Riley to Detroit for Confer and a 2025 second. I'd be so... I don't think I'd be more pissed at the Leafs ever in the history of me being a fan if they made a trade like that. Hey, Adam, I know Confer is a cap dump right now in the Red Wings perspective. If the Leafs made a trade like that, I would be... You guys... I think some people probably would want to see that video. It would not be a healthy reaction. Let's just put it that way. If they treat Riley like a cap dump, I know some fans act like that. Some people just have no clue. I'm telling you guys, some people have no clue. The cap is rising. $7 million for a second or third defenseman on your team, like a second pair defenseman, is not that bad. He is not the problem in the grand scheme of things. And I'm so tired of acting like he is. Like, people acting like he is when he scores more goals than your top 2 forwards in the playoffs. But yes, he's the problem. Yes. And Adam, that rant wasn't directed at you. I just know some Leaf fans would probably say yes to that deal, and they have no clue on like guys across the league. So the trade value I'm seeing from Leaf fans right now is just crazy on how they're treating some of our players. But that's how I feel about that. All right, let's look at Blue Jackets. All right, back in the playoffs. Are they signing some guys here? So let's look at the Blue Jackets, maybe some trades, and we'll also look at some other Metro teams as they're making some moves here. But the Blue Jackets going after Marner, so they got a lot of cap flexibility. They could go after Mitch Marner. I've also heard the conversation of, is Mitch going to go to just a quiet market that pays him a lot, right? So if markets like the Golden Knights, Panthers, go down the list, right? If they don't want to sign or can't sign Marner, does Marner accept a 14 or 15 million from a team like Columbus? I think Columbus would have to pay him at least 14 minimum to drive him to go to Columbus. And I think that could be a possibility. So in this scenario, I mean, Columbus is a lot more ready for playoffs. Like Voronkov had his coming out party this year, Fantilli with Marner. So could you look at a scenario where the Blue Jackets bring in both Marner and Ekblad as big fish? That would be a massive overpayment for Ryan Lindgren, for the record, by the way. Just letting you know. So a Blue Jackets fan not understanding Ryan Lindgren's game, he has fallen off big time. But to look at some trades here, one, as I said, Blue Jackets I think are going to be aggressive this offseason, so not just free agency. I could see them making trades. I don't know if those are realistic. Let's look at this one. Ooh, Ricard Raquel. See, now we're cooking. These are the kind of trades I think the Blue Jackets might get aggressive. I don't know if trading with Pittsburgh is happening because Metro Division teams, but value-wise, there was a lot of rumors that at the trade deadline, Pittsburgh wanted 2 first-round picks for Ricard Raquel. So if that is true, this is the value of 2 first-round picks plus, I would say. A first, a second, Chinnikov and Jordan Harris. I think Chinnikov can be a good middle six guy. Obviously, Pittsburgh's trying to get younger. This could make some sense, actually, for both teams. So in this scenario, I've heard a lot of Blue Jackets fans want Ekblad. John Gibson to Columbus, that could solve the goaltending. Like, if they signed a big fish, made a trade like that, got a goaltender, Columbus could be in business. Columbus definitely could be in business. I think it's wild that this person has Severson as a healthy scratch, though. I'll say that for free. But that's a pretty healthy top 6. Could make some sense. But yeah, Raquel's price at the trade deadline was nuts. Was crazy. All right, let's look at this one. Oh, this is interesting. So there's been a lot of conversations on Marco Rossi's frustration in Minnesota. He was in the 4th line of the playoffs. Could the Blue Jackets look at trading for Marco Rossi, send Cole Sillinger to Minnesota to be one of their depth centers, like when I say depth, like 3rd line center maybe? And then you get a 1st-round pick from Columbus, which is a pretty nice 1st-round pick to add to the collection there. Ooh, this is very aggressive from Columbus, but I almost think you consider it. I think Marco Rossi could be legit in the right situation. I think you do that if you're Columbus, honestly. If Minnesota wants good value, I think that's pretty good value. A 1st in Sillinger plus some more picks. It's not bad. It's really not that bad. Rossi for Fantilli, I think, is too aggressive. The Blue Jackets would never do that in a million years. Fantilli's ceiling, for me, is way higher. I could be off my rocker for saying that, but I think way higher. It's pretty accurate in my opinion. But I was just looking at what Minnesota could do with Columbus's pick here. I just want to look at it. So Columbus's pick would be 14th overall. That's what Minnesota would get in this trade. They could probably draft. Ooh, imagine Brady Martin fell. This would be interesting. I think you make a trade like this if you feel Minnesota could get a good steal at that spot. Let's see. All right, so trading 1st-round picks away and signing Marner. This is interesting. So they get Jordan Spence from LA for Sillinger. Ooh, Luke Evangelista and Shea for the 14th overall pick. So Nashville gets another top 15 draft selection in this draft. Interesting. Luke Evangelista, I think, sneaky. I think he could still have a bright future. See, again, I think it's got to be at least 14 to go to Columbus. I don't think Columbus would get him at lower than 14. I really don't think so. So that's an interesting scenario. I don't know if the value there was accurate, but let's see. What's Don going to do? Dump Mers Lincolns in San Jose? That's pretty funny. Ooh, interesting. Columbus gets Pelech. Well, damn, their defense group looks pretty good. Sign Besser. Ooh, sign Besser at over $9 million. See, again, I think if Columbus goes aggressive, my team, if you guys watched my free agency video, if you haven't yet, go watch it on the channel. I posted it like a week ago. I think Besser to Minnesota is probably my favorite landing spot. Like, I think Minnesota's going to go heavy after their hometown guys because they actually are the perfect fits for what they need. Like, Besser and Brock Nelson would be perfect fits for what Minnesota's trying to add this offseason, especially Brock Nelson if they're trying to flip Marco Rossi if those negotiations don't go well. But Besser to Columbus also makes a lot of sense if Columbus is willing to throw the cash at him. Like, I think they need another guy in that top 6, a little more explosive scoring. Marchenko was that this season. Like, he had his coming out party in terms of his scoring. So that's great. Same with Voronkov. He had a bit of a coming out party. But if I'm calling it as it is, I think they need one more big fish in that top 6. So they could get a Besser or a Marner. That would be huge. Let's see. Maybe a trade with Toronto here. I want to mix in the Leafs conversation in Columbus right now. So this one is just the Leafs dumping guys. So this is kind of funny. The Columbus Blue Jackets getting McCann. The Leafs talking to Columbus for some dump action. Dump some contracts. Here we go, Columbus. Columbus is clutching up for Toronto. Here we go. Honestly, McCann and Burakovsky could be good ads for the Jackets. But there you go. Jackets helping the Leafs. W's in the chat. Let's go. You know what? It's not that bad, though. The Blue Jackets have tons of cap flexibility. You have to understand that. So if they could get a 2nd-round pick from Toronto for just taking David Kampf, and like Reeves and Benning could just be in the AHL, like that's not a lot of money for Columbus. But getting a 2nd-round pick, I don't know why Columbus wouldn't do that, right? It's a free 2nd-round pick. They could flip that at the trade deadline if they're in the playoff race. There's some more Toronto ones here. Let's see. Ooh, Bobby McMahon, a 3rd and a 5th for Sillinger. Ooh, I actually think this is decent. I mean, McMahon, what kind of numbers did Sillinger put up this year? Would his stats be here? Yeah. So he had 11. Sillinger had 11 goals and 22 assists for 33 points. So he only had 11 goals, and Bobby McMahon had 20. And Toronto's actually giving more up because obviously Sillinger's younger, has more of that ceiling. But McMahon at 1.35, he scored 20 goals. Similar amount of points to Sillinger, but had the 20 goals. I actually think that's a good trade for both teams. I think if Toronto's willing to give up a little bit more to get Sillinger as their third line center, that's pretty good. I actually would probably do that if I'm the Leafs. And I think Columbus, they've kind of been frustrated with Sillinger at times. So if this is a scenario where Sillinger gets a good change of scenery and the Blue Jackets get some extra draft capital, this one's also very interesting. Bowen Byram. I would think Buffalo wants maybe a veteran piece in there, but getting that first round pick to maybe flip in another deal maybe makes some sense. But I think Columbus wants to add a big fish ultimately. I'm just looking at that trade specifically, and I think that could make some sense for both sides. Let's look at one more here for Columbus maybe. Yo. That is not enough for Willie, I mean. What are we saying here? Oh, for Rocker, yo. Nah, Nylander ain't waving to Columbus, but that's crazy. That is crazy. That ain't happening. Oh, someone's mocking the Puckpedia on that one. I want to see if there's one more that we could relate to Toronto here. All right, realistic. Hopefully this actually is realistic. Dumping David Camp. Okay. Getting John Gibson, we looked at that. Okay. I mean, some of these were not so realistic, but it's okay. The Columbus-Toronto one before made some sense, and I think Columbus will go aggressive at Marner or Besser, as we talked about. Thank you to the person that subscribed, by the way. Sorry I missed it. And thank you for the dono, by the way. I hope that was sufficient Blue Jackets convo. Last few comments, guys, and I'm going to call it. Like I said, we'll do this every... I don't know. We'll do it a couple times a month. All right. We'll let the comments catch up here. If you guys have any comments, get it rolling in the chat. Dak, what's going on? Says anything on the Jets, John? I mean, I think they could lose Ehlers, but I think there's other guys that they might try to convince to come to Winnipeg. So we'll see. The one guy that I wonder in terms of the free agent market, I wonder if they could go aggressive at a guy like Besser. He's a Minnesota guy, so not too far from him to go to Winnipeg. You would obviously have to pay a lot, but I think Besser could be a guy that could replace Ehlers. I think they're going to try to talk to Ehlers, see what happens, and then Besser might be the second option there. Might be a better option. Any Red Wings Flames possible trades, John Burns? Ooh, off the top of my head. Maybe Rasmus Anderson. Maybe. Could Calgary have some interest in some of Detroit's younger centers, like a Casper or Nate Danielson? Hockey fan. Matthew Tkachuk ain't going anywhere. Oh, here we go. Jim Johnson's on the same page as me. I'm reading this comment now. Says, I would like to see a trade with the Flames that would send Rasmus Anderson to Detroit. That could make some sense. I mean, having Slider and Rasmus Anderson on that right side would be dominant if you could sign Rasmus Anderson long term. Line says, John, rate this trade Bowen Byram and a 2025 first for Rasmus Anderson. Yeah, I think both teams say yes to that. I think if Rasmus Anderson comes with an extension, I think both teams say yes to that. I'm not even joking. I think Buffalo's been desperate for a Rasmus Anderson type of player for a long time. And in their head, they'd be trading Casey Middlestat and a 2025 first for Rasmus Anderson. They would do that all day, every day of the week. That would be a W trade for Buffalo in the grand scheme of things because they got Byram for Middlestat. So yes, I think that's a lot for Buffalo to have to give up. But if the Sabres can get a first-round pick back, I think that's the best way to put it in terms of a Rasmus Andersson and Bowen Byram conversation. So give me your comments on what else you think Buffalo could target. But just for the Sabres, I think Byram and a first for Rasmus Andersson could make some sense. I think they could go in other directions. We talked about it earlier for the Buffalo Sabres. Like if they look at Seattle and go, hey, we'll trade you some of our young and up-and-coming pieces. We'll trade you JJ Peterka. We'll trade you Bowen Byram. Give us some of the pieces that are not working out for you on the other side. Could Buffalo look at a Matthew Beniers? Could that be enough value to get Adam Larson out of Seattle? I know it's constant conversation. Seattle's not going to trade Larson. They're not going to trade Larson. But if Buffalo gave enough value, I think Buffalo needs to understand they might have to overpay in some senses, but they have so many prospects that they can trade first-round picks. And Bacon, as a Flames fan, is saying he would do that Byram and a first for Rasmus Andersson. I think you do that if you're Calgary, 100%. And again, maybe it's a little bit of an overpayment from Buffalo, but you do that all day because you think about the original deal. You think that the original deal was Casey Middlestat for Byram, and in your head you're going, okay, asset management. Imagine we didn't do that deal and we traded Middlestat and a first for Rasmus Andersson with an extension. Buffalo fans would be celebrating in the street. They'd be planning the parade. So, yes, it's Byram and a first, and I think that's a lot to give up because I'm high on Byram. But I think Rasmus Andersson long-term next to Rasmus Dahlin would be perfect for the Sabres. So, that makes a lot of sense. And, yeah, I think Buffalo should go after veterans like a Brock Besser. Go after those guys in free agency as well. I don't know if they'll go to Buffalo, but that's how I'll leave it. Carson, I went over some Canes trades, but the Canes are still in the playoffs, man. Like, I'm not planning the funeral on Carolina until they're out of the playoffs. Like, Carson, let's wait to see what happens with the Canes. I understand it's not looking good. They're getting crunched by the Panthers, but we'll see. We'll see. I understand we're likely going to see the Florida Panthers back in the Cup final, but let's just wait and see. Richard said a first and Stenberg for McCann. Honestly, Richard, I think that's close to the value that Seattle wants. So you're onto something there. I'm with you. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to be it for me. Yeah, Julia, I think the Canes probably wrap it up in 4 or 5. Maybe Carolina delays the inevitable. But I think if Carolina squeaks out a win tomorrow, I think it's going to be Florida in 5. So we'll see. I think I said Florida in 5 or 6 at the start of the series. I didn't think the sweep was going to happen, but if you guys watched my video, I did say I thought Florida could finish in good business. So Bacon says to Calgary, Peterka, Byram third, to Buffalo, Anderson, Honzik. See, Bacon, I think that's a great scenario for Calgary. I just don't think. See, I think that's where it goes over the line of what Buffalo would do. I don't think Buffalo's trading 2 pieces like Peterka and Byram. So, yeah, Peterka, Byram, it's a lot. I think if you, in Calgary's perspective, I think you're all over that. But I think the only way Buffalo's doing that is if they got some kind of clear advantage on the way back. So, like, for example, if Blake Coleman was willing to go to Buffalo, which I don't think he is, but if he was, and Calgary was like, hey, we'll retain 50% of Blake Coleman's contract, and Buffalo could get Coleman for the next 2 years at whatever that money would be. It's like $2.4 million. Buffalo would probably be more intrigued to do that. But I am so high on Peterka. I also think Peterka's ridiculous. Like, he's going to be so good. I think he's going to be consistently a 78-point guy in this league. So I just think that's a lot. Like, then the Rasmus Andersson conversation would be way too much. But Byram in a first, I think we're talking. Anyways, guys, say bye on your way out. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. I hope if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. Send the channel to your friends. I'm always very appreciative. And, yeah, Bacon, I like the idea for the Leafs to go after Coleman as well. Coleman and Kadri to Toronto. Do it. Thank you, Lina. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Carson. Yeah, if you guys haven't yet, follow me on social media and reach out. All right, we'll chat soon. I'll probably be back with some videos and streams, and I might post some clips of this stuff on YouTube as well. All right, thanks, guys. Have a great one. Have a great night. Love you as always. Peace.